Hey everybody, Mr. Regan here, and we're going to look at the answers to the key concept matching and vocabulary tasks that we did for 5, 6, and 7. We're going to break down kind of what we should have put in there, and then last but not least, how we should have analyzed the diagrams to best match our key concepts. So first and foremost, starting with key concept 1. Over many generations, should have gone there, individuals with adaptive traits become more common in a, should have dragged, population, while individuals with non-adaptive traits become less common. So the idea that there are traits that are better suited that continue on versus those traits that are not suited do not continue on. Second, a population, should grab population, can be described by the traits, should grab traits present, and by the number of individuals who have each trait. So the idea that whatever traits we have in a population are what we're going to see down the road. They're not going to magically grow new traits for no reason. So when we look at these two key concepts, the idea is, number one, that there are adaptive and non-adaptive traits, and number two, that whatever traits we find in a population will have for time to come. Number one goes with the very first one, as we see our birds eating the different bugs, and the bugs that blend in with their background having that adaptive trait versus the ones without the adaptive trait. The green ones are no longer there. Next, a population can be described by the traits present and all of those different individuals who have each of those traits. Well, we have a population of a dog with different colorations, with different spots, some without spots, all of those different traits found within our population. So key number 2 should have been dragged there. Let's take a look at task 6. Notice I'm dragging the bar here to kind of help make sense of all of this. Whether or not a trait is adaptive depends on the environment. So we should have pulled those 3 there. The traits that exist in a, should have dragged, population determine which traits can become more common over many, and then generations should have been pulled there. So we have our 2 new key concepts. Whether or not a trait is adaptive depends on the environment. We should have dragged this key over to this section here. Notice the 2 sets of traits here obviously are the camouflage traits, but just because they both camouflage doesn't mean that it's necessarily adaptive. They have to match their environment. So obviously the environment here determines whether or not it's adaptive. So this yellow spider could come here to this white wooded area and would stand out pretty bad, and then vice versa with the owl. So that number 3 goes there, and then obviously number 4 goes there. The idea that traits are kind of passed down from generation to generation to become more common. Things like the brown hair going into all the different generations here, and even the red hair, that sort of thing. So 3 goes there, 4 goes there. Let's take a look at the next one. All right. The number of individuals with each trait, should have pulled trait, in a population can change over time. Should have pulled time in there. Last but not least, biologists analyze data about populations and the environment to explain changes in the distribution of traits in populations. So when we look at these 2 key concepts, the idea of traits changing over time, we should have obviously dragged number 5 over here above the snails, seeing the color of their shells change over time. And more importantly, if you drag number 6 above, you're not necessarily wrong. But when we look at this key concept here, this idea of analyzing the population, analyzing the environment, understanding the distribution of traits, all of those ideas are best shown here because it has a more dynamic and complex diagram, which has all those big ideas. So the idea that it's getting warmer with the bigger suns, there's more water in the environment with the big water droplets. We have the distribution of traits, so the height of giraffes is getting more and more long-necked giraffes over time. All of this best connects with this key concept, even though you could probably use this one as well. But this one's more focused on number 5, and this one's more focused on number 6. So, at this point, how'd you do? Did you get all the vocab words right and the matching part? You're obviously in the green. Did you get one or the other more correctly? Maybe you got all the words right, or maybe you got all the matching keys right. Okay, then you got that one. If you got some errors in both sets, put your X there. And then last but not least, check in with me if there's anything confusing or you're unsure about so we can correct any mistakes. If you have questions, reach out. Otherwise, good luck with the rest of the lesson.